making it in the top 5 almost every single match. I mean, or at least the top 7 every single match overall. So, I mean, it wasn't like these people who had been playing from the beginning and they had all the good items, they had the best setup, like they were just completely dominating. Because sometimes those people were at the bottom of the list. Like, it just depended on the player, it depended on the skill. Because the stuff that was, what people said was game-changing because it gave you buffs and it gave you nerfs or whatever, like, it was no different than playing PvP in WoW or playing PvP in literally any other MMO setting. Now, I'm not a huge Heroes of the Storm player per se. I have it installed on my computer. I think it's a pretty fun game. I think I spent maybe like $4 on it altogether. But they roll out free content all the time, and you can complete quests, you can complete like daily missions and stuff like that, I do believe, unless they changed it since I last played it, to help you get loot boxes. And you get these loot boxes and you get new items, you get new skins, you get new mounts, you get new whatever. But these games are essentially funded by people who they've been coined as whales. I think that's like a Vegas term, but these people are what keep these games afloat. They're what keep like this free content being pumped out. So I mean, and it's kind of always been that way. I mean, that's how it's been. And there's people who they spend this kind of, I mean, even like the mobile gaming, there's been people who were spending like thousands of dollars on Farmville. There's people who spend thousands of dollars on Candy Crush. It's no different. So I feel like if they're going to start imposing, you know, this kind of mandate on, like, you know, these free to play games that, you know, have these loot box systems, they should also be doing it for mobile gaming, because there's mobile gaming, you get random items for, you know, like paying this kind of stuff. But I mean, for me personally, like, I don't care about that kind of stuff. I mean, you know, it's not game changing. It's all cosmetic stuff, or it's stuff for like a single player game. So it doesn't really affect other players' outcome of their game. So I don't really see why it's a problem. And I don't know. I know this is kind of like an aged debate or an aged conversation. I don't know. I feel like it's kind of ridiculous. I think it's silly. I don't feel like video game companies should be mandated on this kind of a business model, because ultimately video game companies are that. They're a company. They're a corporation. They are a business. They have to make money in order to survive and to enable them to keep producing games. So I feel like it's a business, and they should be able to do business practices. Now, do I feel like video game companies should have shady business practices? Hell no. But I don't see loot boxes as a shady business practice. And this brings us to the second to last thing I want to discuss about video games, and it's kind of just like a quick news update. So I'm recording this on Friday, August 31st. So starting tomorrow, and I believe until Sunday, on Destiny 2, you will be able to play the Gambit, and for free. It'll be over the weekend for free, and you'll be able to test it out, and it's a cool game mode. It's a PvE game mode, and it should be pretty fun. So if you have Destiny 2, check it out. I think it'll be pretty fun. Add a really fun element to the game over the weekend. And lastly, there was news that Battlefield 5 has been delayed. And EA confirmed that it is going to be releasing on November 20th instead of the October 19th release date, which means that this new date is going to be, it's essentially getting pushed back a whole extra month. It means it's going to be released after Red Dead Redemption 2, after Hitman 2 and Fallout 76, and its biggest rival, Call of Duty Black Ops 4, because Call of Duty Black Ops 4 is going to be releasing on October 12th. But they did say that the upcoming open beta for Battlefield 5 will still go as planned on September 6th. And they also released a new character customization trailer for Battlefield 5. So you'll still be able to do the open beta in next week. So keep your eye out on that if that's something that interests you. And in Star Wars news, so this was pretty big. It was about a week ago, I believe. Dominic Monaghan, best known from his role as Charlie from Lost and from Lord of the Rings, is going to be in Star Wars. And then it was just the other day, I believe it was Variety, released the news that Matt Smith, the Doctor, is going to be in Star Wars. So Matt Smith from Doctor Who has been cast in Star Wars Episode 9 as well. Now, I don't believe their roles have been announced as to whether they're going to be on the Resistance, the First Order, but I think they're both pretty tremendous actors, and I feel like they'll do pretty good in Star Wars. I know Dominic Monaghan has worked with J.J. Abrams before on Lost, and I thought he was really good in that show. I thought he was great in Lord of the Rings. I'm really looking forward to him in the new Star Wars movie. And Matt Smith, while he wasn't my favorite Doctor, I do think he was pretty good in the role and brought the character back to life again. I thought it was pretty great. And so I also look forward to him being in Star Wars as well. And also about Episode 9, Oscar Isaac has done a couple interviews, and he has came out and stated the state of the Resistance in Episode 9, and he essentially kind of compared them to the guerrilla fighters, and adhering closer to something like the Revolutionary War fighters or even the guerrillas in Cuba, with Che and Fidel and all those guys living in the mountains coming down to do some attacks and going back and trying to hide from the Empire of the United States. It's that kind of ragged at this point. And I think it's cool that they're kind of showcasing like different tactics of warfare and stuff like that in the Star Wars universe in regards to the Resistance, getting back at the First Order, which has infinite resources, it seems, kind of similar to how the Rebellion was with the Galactic Empires. I mean, it's pretty much the Rebels and the Empire fighting still. They're just named something different. But it's cool, too, because they're also taking on the fractured leadership, essentially, of the First Order, because Snoke's out of the picture, and Kylo and General Hux are kind of at ends with each other, trying to outdo each other throughout the movies. So it could potentially, like, that's probably how, like, the opening they're going to use for the Resistance to kind of swoop in and essentially destroy the First Order from within, because they're kind of at, like, that power struggle right now of who's going to be in charge. But he also briefly talked about the absence of Carrie Fisher on the set of Star Wars 9, and he said it always feels like she's still around, and states that the late actress is still with us. Lucasfilm and J.J. Abrams will be utilizing footage of Carrie Fisher that wasn't used during The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, and they'll essentially kind of piece together her performance for Episode 9. But it's not clear just how much she'll be in the movie, but she will have a presence that is from her and not another actress or a completely CGI character like what they did with her character and General Grand Moff Tarkin in Rogue One. And lastly, in Star Wars news, Rian Johnson, it was, had been announced after, I think it was before The Last Jedi had came out, that he was going to be writing and directing another trilogy series in the Star Wars universe. And then The Last Jedi came out, and then Solo came out, and there was rumors that his trilogy wasn't going to be going on anymore, and there was rumors that people on his team were being told to pursue different projects. It was on hold. etc., etc. And now he is coming out and he's saying, like, that's all completely false, and that his trilogy hasn't really been canceled. So, I've kind of been noticing a pattern as of late with, in regards to Star Wars. There's constantly news about projects being canceled. There's news about turmoil within, on set and stuff like that. And it's just like, I don't know. People just need to stop focusing on the negative and just focusing on the fact that we're getting more freaking Star Wars. Like, I don't want to go into another rant like I did last episode, but come on, guys. Like, like the prequel movies, it's not like they were Oscar-worthy performances, directing, writing, or acting, for that matter, but it was more Star Wars. I mean, like the droid cartoon and like the Ewoks cartoon from when we were younger, like they weren't great cartoons by any means, but it was more Star Wars. Even for their faults, the Ewok standalone movies that came out, while they weren't amazing performances or amazing movies, they were 80s movies. I mean, they weren't half bad. They were okay. They were good kids movies, that's for sure. So the last thing I'm going to talk about, and this might go a little bit long, but so Dave Bautista, who has been completely outspoken in support of James Gunn, and has made it very well known that he did not appreciate the fact that he has not been brought back into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, has went on record recently as saying that he believes Avengers 4 story could possibly be affected by the Guardians of the Galaxy 3 being delayed, because it has now been put on an indefinite hold while they try to find a replacement director and writer for the movie. And Dave Bautista has been extremely outspoken about all of this, in this whole situation. But he said that, he's already completed filming for his stuff for Avengers 4. He has a couple more days of reshoots that he has to do to fill in the missing pieces. But the Russo brothers recently revealed that they've finished their edit of the next Avengers film over the summer. And that they're going to be, like I said, they're going to be doing some reshoots and stuff like that. So, it's very possible that the delay in the Guardians of the Galaxy 3 could potentially, make them have to reshoot a lot more than what they anticipated, or completely cut stuff out, and, shoot new stuff, change the story, change the movie. It could change a whole lot. But the Russo brothers are expecting to be in post-production process for Avengers 4 until at least March of next year, which gives them plenty of time to figure out what the hell it is they're going to be doing with the Guardians of the Galaxy characters. But it's not really clear at this time what they're really planning on doing. Or if anything, in regards, to the Guardians characters, because, James Gunn, he's what really helped mold the characters of the Guardians. He's what really helped flesh them out, make them unique, make them, because, he took, I wouldn't even call them B-team characters. The Guardians of the Galaxy have always kind of been, like a D-team. They've been, way back in the roster of Marvel characters, and not really play a massive role up until recently, before the first movie came out, which I kind of think was just a marketing ploy to help, kind of bring them back up to the spotlight again. And it works because, those comics were phenomenal. The movies have been great, and James Gunn really helped mold what those characters are. So it'll be interesting to see what, or if they do anything with the Guardians characters. Now, I kind of touched on this briefly. I don't want to get into a huge thing about it, but I feel like Their biggest mistake was meeting with James Gunn a second time and the outcome still being the same.